Hi there, welcome to TDCat Tech, and today I'm looking at this. This is the AllPowers R1500 PowerStation. I've been meaning to do this one for absolutely ages. And why should you listen to this review over any other? Well, it'll give you one good reason. I've been using this for months now because I've been meaning to review this for months. There've been a number of reasons why that hasn't happened yet, but you can trust what I'm saying on this, and you can trust that it's an accurate review because I haven't been using this for a week. I haven't been using this for 2 weeks. I've been using this since like February or March of this year. So like 6 months now. This is a 1152 watt hour battery. So just over a kilowatt hour of storage on this. It's got an 1800 watt AC inverter with the 3000 watt surge. And of course it has lithium iron phosphate batteries within it rather than the older lithium ion type, which gives it a cycle count they estimate of about 3,500. So sort of theoretically much better life on those batteries. If you work out your usage and you do the maths over kind of how many times you actually use a cycle, 3,500 cycles is a long time. It's worth remembering that although this is advertised as a 1152 watt hour battery, you'll never get that from a battery of this type, just generally because of battery discharge inefficiencies, inverter inefficiencies, and also the depth of discharge of the battery. This unit actually turns off the AC inverter at 5%. You cannot drop it down to 0%. You can on the DC stuff, but not on the AC inverter. And they're quite open about this in their FAQ. As it says here, the runtime can be calculated as follows: battery capacity times depth of discharge times inverter efficiency divided by rated power of the device. And the example they give of a 120 watt device running on this battery only comes out at 6.6 hours. Now you might think, oh, 120 watt device, I should be getting closer to 10 hours. But that's not the case, because once you factor in all those inefficiencies, you can realistically get 6.6 hours of runtime. It's got both solar and AC charging. It's you can car charge it as well through the solar input too. It's got a maximum of 650 watts of solar charging. It also has a UPS feature, which means that this can switch over from AC power, so you can power it via the AC in. Sorry, power everything connected to it via the AC in, and it can switch over to battery power if that AC input fails within 15 milliseconds. And it's got two 18 watt USB-A ports here. It's got two 100 watt USB-C power delivery ports. I appreciate you can't see all this too well here, but I will do some additional B-roll so you can see all the stuff I'm pointing to. And on the top here, it's also got two 15 watt wireless chargers, two completely separate wireless chargers that you can just plonk phone on top like that, and it'll start charging. And it has the 100 watt 12 volt DC car socket type thing output there too. Okay, so what I want to sort of talk about today really is the pros and cons of this, because it's a review after all, right? So firstly, let's talk about the pros of this product. This is a low-cost device. It is at the budget end of these type of products. You've got products from companies like EcoFlow and Anker, Solix, and they're, I guess, a little more expensive. You do get a little bit more for your money, but I would say this is at the sort of budget or the more value end. So this currently, at time of recording, retails at £699. AllPowers have given me a discount. I don't know whether it'll be valid if when you come to watch this video, but if you want to try putting the code TDCatTech into their website, then you can get an extra 10% off, which at £700 is an extra sort of 70 quid off. So yeah, you can't grumble with that. So try the code. If it works, great. If not, then obviously it's past its use by date or whatever. And yeah, this is it's really low cost per watt hour of energy. So yeah, as I mentioned, currently £700, 600. So if you take that discount off that I've just offered you there, £630 with a discount makes this 54.6 pence UK currency I'm talking about right now, 54.6 pence per watt hour of energy, which is pretty good. And one of the biggest selling points for me for this product is that it's so quiet. This is one of the quietest. The Delta Max, EcoFlow Delta Max 2 or Delta 2 Max, whatever, is really quiet. They've done a good job. EcoFlow have done a good job of making that quiet. It's not as quiet as this. This thing, you can plug a kettle into it. So a 1000 watt kettle, it'll only do 800 watt from the inverter, so you can't put a 3000 watt kettle into this. Plug an 1000 watt kettle into this. The inverter's running at over 1000 watts, and it's almost silent. Well, not silent, but it's really, really quiet. I don't know how they've done it. You know, it does make some noise, but it's always what I would consider background noise. I wouldn't want it on when I was recording like this, but it's all right, and it's certainly it's not. It doesn't interfere with your day if you've got it plugged in and you've got stuff running from it and whatever. It's very, very quiet. Now, whether that's a concern to you or not, well, it depends what you're going to be using it for. If you're like me and you might want to power stuff in a room that sometimes you do want to be quiet, if you're working or writing a script or just doing your day job or whatever it is, then yeah, you might want it to be quiet. If you're using this for power tools and you're using it out on a site somewhere or in your garden running a circular saw trying to chop your hand off or something, then yeah, you're not going to be bothered, are you, whether it's loud or not, because probably the tools you're using are going to be even louder. It feels pretty well made. It's nice to carry. It's got these sort of 2 handles that your hands slot right up underneath with rubber grips here as well, which makes it really sturdy. Your whole hand wraps around there, and it makes it really good to carry. I like the way this is designed as far as the carrying is concerned. So yeah, it's solid enough. It's plastic. It's all plastic. But these, you know, these are covered. These flaps on here on the AC ports are nice and thick and sturdy, and it feels fairly well made. Another thing I like about it, which you don't get on all of these kinds of devices, is the DC is a switchable button. And I like that because it means that you're not relying on there to be some drain on the port for it to be active. Certain devices will automatically power down the DC when it says, oh no, this is charged, it's okay, it doesn't need to be on anymore. But there might be a reason why you want it to be on, or if you're charging something very, very low power, like a bike light or something like that, then it might just stop charging. But on this, it won't, because you actually say DC ports are on, USB ports are on, just put out, send output to them, send power to them, regardless of what's actually being sort of drained.
The 2 power delivery ports on the R1500 are decent, actually. They're both 100 watts out, and they will both supply 100 watts at the same time, which is good. You can see that I'm just charging this battery here at 193 watts, which factoring in inefficiencies and stuff like that is a good output from these 2 ports. So in total, we're doing 247 in on solar on this at the moment. And we've got 243 going out, so that's the 200 watts-ish from these 2 ports here, plus there's a couple 40 watts or so from the mains inverter too.
The solar input, as I mentioned, is 650 watts, which as a percentage of the battery size of this is pretty high. 650 watts solar input for a battery that's only just over 1000 watt hours is really good, which means that if you do have that kind of solar input, you can charge this up to full in under 2 hours, which is surprisingly high for a battery of this size. I discussed this just a second ago. The AC charge rates can be changed, which is a good thing. I like the option to say, right, I want to charge it via AC, but I don't want to do it at this maximum huge charge rate, super fast charging. I just want to do it at a gentle 400 watts. And you can do that on here. It makes it quieter and hopefully makes the batteries last a little longer too. The UPS feature. I think all devices like this should have a UPS feature. It's a huge, huge selling point on this type of device, is the ability to use it, I don't know, together with some computer equipment or maybe with a fridge or something like that, so that if power does go out, this takes over and you can just have this sat there.
Something that isn't made very clear in documentation, or certainly on the front of the device, is how you turn the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on and off. And it's simple, because all you do is you press and hold the DC button here. So if I press and hold that now, see that we get the 2 extra symbols in the corner there for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Having paired it up, let's just take a quick look at the app itself. We've got the power remaining in the battery, input and output power, and you can power on and off the AC through the app. You can power on and off the DC through the app. You can change the frequency of the inverter, and that's about it really. In additional settings, we do have standard mode. So we've got mute mode, standard mode, and fast mode. And that's what I was talking about regarding the AC charging. So this will allow you to charge at either 400 watts, I think 1,000 watts, and something like 1,500 watts or 1,400 watts. I don't actually recall exactly the number of watts for the fast mode. All right, so let's move on to the cons. Now, there aren't too many of these, but they are quite significant. And this is where it comes to the part of the review where I'm sort of thinking, this is the stuff you really need to know. And this is the benefit of me having used this for 6 months and having a lot of experience with the product. Because they're not necessarily things that you would notice straight away. Well, the first one is, it's quite large. This is really pretty big for 1,152 watt-hour battery. If you compare this to the Anker Solix C1000 that I reviewed recently, similar power, slightly less, tiny in comparison, much smaller than this. And Anker do claim that those products are kind of industry leading as far as their size is concerned, but this does seem pretty bulky. Now, I don't know whether there are reasons for that. I don't know whether it's because of the charger, whether it's just poor design, or whether it's the wireless chargers here at the top take up a bit of space, maybe. Or if it's big, and that means they're able to keep it as quiet as this thing is, I'm all for it. I don't mind it being a bit bigger because it's quiet. So if it's to do with ventilation and good air intake and fairly good sized fans in there, because obviously bigger fans are generally quieter. Those little kind of like tiny fans that just... So if it's to do with that, then I'm all for it. Don't mind it being bigger, but just be aware it is a fairly sizable unit. It has expansion ports on it. So on the side here, on this side, it has 2 expansion ports. So ports for additional batteries, but you can't get any additional batteries. At this point, I have to make a small correction. It looks like AllPowers are releasing the B1000 finally in September. They're accepting pre-orders at the moment, from what I can see here. Retails for $649, down from $929. On sale at the moment. And this is the extension battery. They don't call it an extension battery rather than an expansion battery for the R1500. And I think you can use up to 3 of these. So you can really sort of bump up the capacity of the R1500. But interestingly, this is pretty much a power station within its own right from what I can see. So you've got AC charging on it, and you've got USB outputs on this. You've got a car output on this, and there are the extension battery connectors that we see there on the R1500 as well. So this is due to come out very soon. The design of this thing, do you like it? I don't know. It's down to taste, isn't it? I can't really say for sure on that, but I find it a little bit dated. It looks a little bit kind of mid-2000s-ish in its kind of curved design, and I don't know. To me, it just looks a little bit dated, the design. Not a big deal. Doesn't really matter. I've used the AC inverter on this to power numerous things. I've used it to power this monitor that's here in front of me. I've used it, and I've tried powering kind of all my work stuff here as well. I stopped doing that when my Mac Studio was plugged into it, and the power supply was squealing on the Mac Studio. Now, it's never done that before. It's never had any reason to do that before. It wasn't under any particular load or anything like that, but it just started squealing. Now, someone in the comments might be able to tell me why that would happen and why it would happen on an inverter of this type versus a standard main supply. But it just pointed to me that I've got a computer that's worth thousands of pounds,
and the power supply is squealing on it when it doesn't normally, and it just made me think, oh, I don't really trust the AC output on that. For the computer stuff anyway. I'm sure it's fine for like a tool, power tools and stuff. But I haven't got any way to really test the quality of the AC output. I did try. I bought myself like a cheaper oscilloscope to try and test the output. But I'm just not that confident with doing that correctly with AC stuff. So I can't give you a definitive answer on that. I can only give you my observations and my concerns over it. I can't say for sure that the reason it happened was because of a slightly dirty supply from this AC inverter. I just don't know. But bear it in mind. Maybe someone else has tested that. It might be worth looking at another video somewhere, or someone else can give me some advice on the best way to test it. Because I do have the scope. I'm just not really quite sure how to do it. So, yeah, worth considering and worth bearing in mind. I'm just going to use this to test the stability of the AC inverter frequency when I put a load on it. I know you can't see this terribly well, but can't do too much about that actually. So we're at 0 watts at the moment, and 38.8 volts, 50 hertz. So let's put the kettle on. Waves around a bit, 53 hertz. 53, 54, 52, 51. How many volts are we at now? 993 watts and 238 volts. So the voltage seems fairly stable. And the frequency really does start to waver quite a bit there, doesn't it, as soon as we put a load onto it. Yeah, 52, 53, 51, 52. As soon as I take that load off, straight back down to 50. And finally, and I think this is probably going to put quite a lot of people off, the DC outputs are usually all right. The AC output, so the AC inverter, is unreliable. I have already returned a unit to AllPowers. The first one I was sent was returned, and they sent me another one because it was like, oh yeah, it must be faulty. Okay, fair enough. If faulty units, that happens, doesn't it? Faulty units can go out, and as long as it's dealt with by customer service and you can get another one sent to you, great. They paid for the return postage. I had to carry this thing to the local DPD place or whatever. But apart from that, it was paid for the return postage, and they sent me another one. But I still have issues with this one. And I'll tell you what, firstly, those issues are. So I was using this as a UPS for my fridge. I was powering the fridge on this during the day, and then I was charging it at night at a cheaper rate. So not really UPS, I suppose. I was just offsetting electricity sort of usage from cheap rates at night to so I don't have to use it during the day. You get what I mean. Problem is, my cheap rate stops at 5:30 in the morning, and for some reason I've come down on numerous occasions, and my fridge is off. I'm just in the edit at the moment, and I thought I'd better point this out, that it's got nothing to do with the inrush current of the fridge. I imagine some of you may have heard the word fridge there and thought, oh, it's probably just cut off because an exceptionally high inrush current when the fridge compressor starts. But that's not the case, because it's happened on different things as well, not low power, non-motor devices. It's happened on those too. But I thought I'd give the fridge as the example because it's the kind of thing where you don't want it just randomly turning off. Anyway, back to the video. The AC is just turned off randomly. So the power's gone off at the AC. So almost like as if you've got a cutout, a power cut. Power's gone off on the AC on a timer because I don't want it to use the AC power at peak times. And the AC inverter's just thrown up an error code and decided to turn off. So this is fine if you're going to be with it. This works perfectly if you can monitor it, if you don't need to rely on it. If you're using it for a drill, if you're drilling something and the AC inverter turns off, turn it back on again. It's no problem. But if you want to rely on it, if you want to have something like a fridge running on this and using it as a UPS or something similar on a fridge, you can't, because it's just not reliable enough. The AC inverter turns off. I've had it plugged into solar and it's been charging. It's hit 100% and the AC inverter has randomly turned off. It's thrown up another error code and it's thrown a couple of different tones. It's got like bleeped loudly for a couple of seconds and the AC inverter's turned off. Don't know why, but imagine running a CPAP machine on this and AC inverter just decides to turn off. So yeah, make of that what you will. They are my findings. It's my experience with two separate models, not two separate versions of this, but I don't find it to be terribly reliable. Other than that, it is good value, it's cheap, and if that kind of thing doesn't matter to you and you're perfectly all right with it turning off occasionally and just turn it back on, it's not like it does it any damage or anything, and you can just turn it back on again, then it'll work great for you and it is good value for the amount of energy that it stores. But that's my experience of the AllPowers R1500. If you've got any questions at all, do put them in the comments and I'll try and answer them. As I say, I've got loads of experience with this. Hopefully I'll be able to give you a good, honest answer. But thanks very much for watching and I'll see you again soon.